Robbins here for worshiponguitar.com, and this is the first video that I'm going to upload to the site. And if you're on YouTube, you can click down below and get to the website. But the reason I'm uploading this video first is because it is my testimony and where God has brought me from and how God saved my life in more ways than one. I say saved my life because the biggest thing he ever done for me is when he died on Calvary, shed his blood for me, and saved me, gave me eternal life. But he also saved my life here on this earth. One night when I went to a party, and I'm going to start a little bit before that. A few years before this turning point of this party, I actually started smoking marijuana at age 13. And then stemmed from there into other drugs. And I got addicted to pain medications. And probably by age 16, 17, I was addicted to Oxycontin, a very powerful and addictive pain medication. Well, about 3.5 years into my addiction, I went to a party. And when I got to the party, I didn't have any Oxycontin with me, but I did have, some marijuana in my pocket. And there was a bunch of alcohol at the party. So I got snowed in at this party, and when I tried to get somebody to take me to go get the Oxycontin, because I was actually getting sick from not having it, nobody would take me anywhere to get my fix of this drug. So I decided to get so drunk that I did not care about not having the Oxycontin. Sort of trading one for the other, which is never a good thing. And I started drinking vodka and orange juice, and then I started drinking vodka straight. And I remember doing this. I went over to the table, and I said, I'm thirsty. And I grabbed this glass of water, and I drunk it down. And this guy said, do you realize what you just done? I said, yeah, I just drunk a glass of water. He said, no, you just drank a full glass of vodka, man. And I just kind of shrugged it off because I really couldn't tell, and I really didn't care. And that's how drunk I was. And I went and lay down this waterbed that was leaking, and I got soaking wet. And I got back up, and I went back into where most of the party was going on. And I got to an argument with somebody there. And just about as we was getting ready to fight, about 4 or 5 guys grabbed me, dragged me outside, and we wrestled and fought out on the porch for I don't know how long. And I remember trying to get back inside because I was trying to get to the door and get back inside because I was soaking wet and the wind chill was 7 below 0 and I had started to go through hypothermia. And that's really all I wanted was just to get back in that door. And I almost get to that door handle and they dragged me back and I'd fight with them some more on that porch. And finally one of them pushed me over the railing on the porch and I landed in the snow. And I was so drunk and tired from fighting I just laid there. I don't know how long I laid there, but I was just laying there. And I was going through hypothermia. I was dying while I was laying there. And I knew it. And I didn't know how to save myself. I couldn't save myself. So I did the one only thing I knew how to do. And I started to pray. I said, God, I don't want to die right now. I said, if I live the rest of my life the way I'm supposed to, please just don't let me die right now. That was my simple prayer. And the next thing I knew after that was I was standing up. And I was standing up in front of the porch, and the guy who I had the argument with was putting my jacket on me. And I said, I just want to go in. I want to go inside. And they let me in. And I had my head down on a table. I lifted my head up. And my aunt and my grandmother's there to pick me up at this party. They had called them. The people at the party had called them because that's who I lived with at the time. So I go home. It was about 3 days later after this. I'm sitting in my grandmother's living room, and I'm actually going through DTs, and I'm feeling pretty bad because I hadn't done the Oxycontin because I knew God saved my life. I knew it. There was no doubt in my mind God had saved my life. I didn't know what to do. I'm feeling pretty bad, and my grandmother came in there, and she said, are you all right, son? I said, I don't know. She said, well, do you want to pray about it? And I said, yes, I do. And I walked over to her. My aunt come in there, and we prayed, and I asked Jesus to forgive me my sins right there. And the love of God come there and just invaded me. And I went through a lot more after that. Believe it or not, even after that, 3 weeks later, I was in jail. And what had happened was, in that 3 weeks time from when I got saved, I went through this huge struggle of trying to quit drugs. And I developed a chemical imbalance, either from the hypothermia or all the drugs I'd done. Whatever caused it, I developed a chemical imbalance, a psychosis. And I ended up, I started walking everywhere. And get up in the morning, I'd take a shower, and I'd just take off walking, you know. And I was walking down the road, and I walked into a church, and the pastor was in there cleaning. And to make a long story short, I ended up hurting that pastor and trying to steal his truck. Not knowing what I was doing, who I was, where I was at. This is what happened. And I went to jail. And they sent me to a prison / psychiatric center. And when I walked in there, they did my evaluation. Doctors did my evaluation, and they told my mom and my dad that I was probably never going to have a normal conversation ever again. Never. I was never going to have a normal conversation. And I know that it was by the grace of God. My family praying for me. People praying for me I didn't even know, that brought me back to reality, to where I could stand here and tell you where God has brought me from. And if that hadn't happened, if all that hadn't happened, I'd still be strung out on Oxycontin, in jail anyways, or OD'd and in the ground. And I thank God today that I'm able to play guitar, to worship Him. Most of all, to worship Him. And I want to thank you for watching this video. Feel free to contact me, leave comments below, and no matter what happens, trust in God. I want to thank you and say God bless.